Hello everyone, my name is Héctor Zavala. I'm the Associate Director of the Center for Mexican Studies of UNAM in Boston. On behalf of our Director, Javier Laguna, I would like to welcome everyone to this webinar that we are putting together within the framework of the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. We are very happy because we have 5 amazing female students, both from UNAM and from UMass Boston, in STEM, all of them, and they will be sharing some of their experiences and motivations that took them to enter the university in the fields of sciences. I also would like to thank Dr. Melissa Islas, the director of the International Office of UNAM School of Medicine, who has agreed to be the moderator of this session. So welcome again, everyone, and enjoy this webinar.
Thank you, Hector, for the invitation. And thank you to all the people who are here and people who are listening to us. Honestly, this is a wonderful opportunity to be able to share and listen to all the stories and inspiring stories that all the female characters here have to share with us. So I wanted to share a little bit just before we move on as to what it is when we're talking about STEM. So STEM, basically, each letter means a word. So S for science, T for technology, E for engineering, and M for math. When we're talking about science, some examples are biochemistry, environmental science, or medicine. Obviously, there are many more. For technology, some examples are computer science, industrial design. For engineering, well, obviously aerospace engineering, biomedical engineering, etc. And with math, some examples are data science and statistics. So just so now that we have kind of an idea where we're heading, I would like to ask each one of you to please present yourself and to please tell us a little bit of where you're from, what country and what city, or what type of upbringing you had, and also if you have any relatives in your family who studied STEM. So I'm just going to go through here, in the order that I have you. So maybe Tamari, I have you right here. Could you please start?
Yes, first of all, thank you so much for organizing it. It means a lot, and I'm glad to see all the women here who are in STEM. So my name is Tamari. I go here in UMass Boston. I'm an undergrad, chemistry major. I grew up in country Georgia, countryside, with my grandparents. And I have no one from my family or relatives who are in STEM field, first generation, and yeah. That's about me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tamari. Celeste?
Yeah, sure. Well, hello, everyone. Also, I'm very happy to be here sharing with all of you. Thanks so much for the invitation. My name is Celeste Castro. I'm 24 years old. I studied physics at UNAM. I live in Mexico City. I was raised there. And I mean, related to the relatives question, yes, I do have some relatives that studied STEM in my family. Most of them were men. Speaking of female relatives, only my mom studied engineering.
Thank you, Celeste. Fernanda?
Yeah, again, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Fernanda. I was born and raised in Mexico City. And I think in my family, only my dad is the one with the STEM background. But other than that, we're like first generation of women in STEM. So that's an honor. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Diana?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I am Diana. Thanks again for having us, and thanks UNAM and UMass for creating these much needed spaces. And well, I was born and raised in Mexico City. I am doing my undergrad. I am a biology undergrad at UNAM in Mexico City. And I do have quite a few people in my family with a STEM background, but only one female, which is my aunt. She's a dentist, and she's like the only one that did sciences in my family.
And Melba.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melba. I am a PhD student at UMass Boston. I'm studying Integrative Biosciences. I was born in Mexico City, but raised in the state of Mexico. And my dad is an engineer, and I have a couple cousins who are in STEM, but we're about the same age, so we're doing this together.
Okay, wonderful. So as you can see, there's like quite a variety of backgrounds. But I think that your history also reflects the present, which is that there aren't that many women in STEM yet. It's growing, but I think it can definitely grow more. So on that note, I wanted to ask you, seeing these backgrounds, what motivated you to study a STEM major? And this right now we're going to go backwards. So Melba, tell us what motivated you to study STEM?
Well, the world is pretty wonderful. I always liked science. I always liked animals. So that's a track that I took in my undergrad. I studied biology. And during my undergrad, I just completely and irrevocably fell in love with microbes. And I knew I could spend the rest of my life trying to understand how they just shape everything on the planet, every surface and like every life. So now I'm here. It's just really pure love for life and just fascination with the tiny organisms that are all around us.
Excellent, thank you. Diana?
Yes, so I think I first fell in love with sciences. At elementary school, we had this great science teacher, and she just would make science look so fun. And I think that's where I didn't realize, but I just knew I loved it. And then fast forward to some years ago, I thought I wanted to go to med school and become a doctor, but life happened, and so I couldn't, and I fell sick and I had to spend lots of time in the hospital, and that's where I met this incredible and amazing doctor woman who basically saved my life. And the way they just explained everything to me, and they just knew everything, like about everything, it just made me realize that's what I want to do. I want to know so much about nature and how things work. And yeah, I think those women inspired me to choose the major I chose, which is biology. And yeah, that's the main reason.
Inspiring. Fernanda?
Well, for me, it has to be the experience of seeing my dad work in it. Like, it was just so fascinating how he understood things nobody else understood, and being around all these computers with black screens and white words on it. I don't know. It felt amazing, like knowing what does that mean. And it was such a great experience growing up with an engineer. So he always made me realize how much I liked compromise and challenges around computers. So when I grew up, that's what I went for, the computer science.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, definitely family influences. Celeste?
Yeah, well, I think also since I was a little kid, I already knew that I wanted to be involved in the science field. I remember that when I was a child, my main motivation was to be able to understand what was behind all the things that were around me. For example, I wanted to know how ships float, how submarines work. I remember this specific question I used to have, and it was why the rainbows that I see on sky have this arc shape, but the ones that I see on CDs don't. So I always wanted to know also how the technological devices work. So at some point, I think that eventually, while I was growing up, I realized that I actually could study a career in science and have the tools in order to be one of those people who are developing these new technologies. So I think that was the first reason. And then I have to admit also that I had very good teachers in school who increased my interest in science.
Definitely. Curiosity and teachers. Fantastic. Tamari?
Yes, so for me, it started differently. I had nothing to do with chemistry. I hated it because I always saw men in STEM, and I kind of had this thinking of, oh, I'm a woman, I should not be, or I won't be good at math or chemistry or physics. So I always hated it. I don't know how I ended up majoring in chemistry, but I'm glad. But I started with, so I grew up in a village with my grandparents, and my grandpa had a stroke a few times, and we will call an ambulance, and it will take hours for them to come. And I had this fear. I was just shaking. I'm like, I didn't want to lose him. So I was like, I need to know what to do. I didn't know what to do. So that I just bought a medical book that I understood nothing. But I remember learning one thing, that you had to put a pillow underneath their knees and give them this shape in like 45 degrees so that they, they could breathe better. And that's when I started. And then after that, I was like, I want to do med school. And I started doing med school. And I was like, I don't have this background of science knowledge, because we go straight from high school to med school. So I was like, I wouldn't trust myself as a doctor ever, like with this knowledge. So then I just started learning from the fundamentals, I guess. And then I fell in love with chemistry and biology and all the sciences. And now my brain is just going, I'm like, this is so cool. And I'm so proud of all of you guys. This is amazing. And yeah.
Tamari, that's wonderful. I like how you started out not wanting science in any way. Fantastic. So I love hearing all your stories. And now we're gonna head, and some of you have already answered this, but maybe if you can expand a little bit more. Who were your role models or your sources of inspiration in pursuing a career in science? So I'm gonna start with Fernanda.
Excuse me, did you say like girl or just any model? I don't.
Anyone.
Okay. So for me,
Preferably, but anyone.
I wish I had it. I wish I had it, because my mom is one of them, because she always pushed me to do the things other people told me I didn't have the skills to do. So that was she was a great pusher in that aspect. But my dad was the one who inspired me to study this. He was the one challenging me, and I remember every time the computer broke down or something happened to it, and he could have helped me, but he didn't. He wanted me to do the things. So he gave me the tools, he gave me indications, but he was like, if this computer works, it's gonna be because of you. And otherwise it's gonna stay there broke down. So yeah, my dad always challenged me, and I appreciate that even to this point, because I think there's a lot of things I wouldn't have done without him there, just challenging me, pushing me, even though sometimes it seemed hard. I have a few experience where it didn't end up that well, but most of the time it was good. And in long terms, I always feel like it was a good way for me to do things.
Excellent. Celeste?
Yeah, well, I think also my family was my first source of motivation and inspiration. Both my parents are in science field, and also my brother, he's older than me. So I think that having their support was like a great decision factor in order to convince me that pursue a career in science was a good idea. And I had like, I will have opportunities, and also that they make me feel confident about myself that I could make it. So that on one part. And I think on the other hand, speaking of women scientists, I mean, I didn't know a lot of them, but I did know, I think it's the most famous, but Mary in school. So she was a role model also for me. And because, I mean, for many reasons, one of them being the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, and also a Nobel Prize in physics. And also after seeing this famous picture of all the most important scientists of that time, remember to realizing that she was the only woman there. It was very, very inspiring for me.
Thank you, Celeste. Definitely going into science as a woman, it's always very good to have that sort of family component, pushing you forward. Because sometimes science, well, STEM in general, it just seems a bit scary because you're going against the grain. So it's wonderful to hear your stories, and the girls and young women who are listening to this are definitely going to be inspired. Tamari, who was your role model?
Now, actually, I've never thought about this. It was just, for me, it was my grandpa that I always looked up to, because he always believed in me. my grandpa and my mom did as well. Grandma and my mom did as well. But he was the one, for some reason, he always believed that I could do what I wanted. And that kind of inspired me and kept me going, I think, up until now. So yeah, my grandpa.
Very good. Very good. Diana?
Yeah, well, I was just telling you about my story, and I think those are the main women that inspire me to pursue a career in the science field. So basically, when I was sick, I realized that most of my doctors and nurses and everyone around me was a woman, and they knew so much about everything. Actually, first time I was diagnosed, I was misdiagnosed, and it has nothing to do with it. It was like by a male doctor, and the first woman who ever told me, no, that's not what you have. You have this, and she changed my life and she saved my life. And it was, I don't know, I didn't even know her, but I look up to her so much because like she was so good at what she did, and she did it with so much passion and so much love, and that it was just amazing to see her in the hospital working. And after that, I had to do like a lot of tests and stuff, and one of them was my genetic test to see what was going on. And I remember how the doctor, when we received my tests and my results, she sat with me and she explained like with baby steps, like step by step, what was going on and what was happening. And she was just so patient, and the way she just like transmitted the information in a way that she was passionate about, but she also wanted me to understand. And you know, me having a background of one, I mean, like watching this woman being successful at what they did, and also knowing that they were able to have their own lives, like it made me realize that you can do both, you know, because there's this misconception that it's one or the other. And I was like I didn't know, I was in between minds, and watching this woman like actually achieve what they wanted in both personal and their career, it just made me realize I could do that and I wanted to do that. So that's my main role models.
Excellent. Thank you, Diana. Very inspiring. Melba?
Yeah, I think I have three main ones. My parents have always been incredibly supportive. My mom is a very brilliant, strong woman who, like, she started her own business when I was little, and she just like runs her life and she knows what she wants. And my dad is also very brilliant. He's very empathetic and funny. He's always encouraged curiosity. So they were a great combination to grow up with because they always just like fostered my curiosity, and they would try to answer my questions about microbes when I was little. And then when I was in high school, I took a biotechnology class with Doctora Berenice Vergara at Tech. And she was just like the coolest person I've ever met. She was brilliant and she was cool, and she was just like so friendly and approachable that she would sit on top of desks, but she had this wealth of knowledge. And I was like, I want to be like her. She's not like the traditional kind of like hyper focused scientist that only does science. It's kind of awkward. She's like the coolest person in the room, and she's also the most brilliant person in the room. So I think she knows this, that I really, really admire her. And sometimes I still talk to her, but she was a great inspiration because she was kind of like I can be like her. And then my parents were like, yes, you can, kind of. So, yeah.
It's good to know that as teachers and professors, you know, you have that influence on your students, right? So that's wonderful. Okay, so we're gonna head to another question. What advice would you give to young women who are aspiring to pursue a career in science? So let's start first now with Celeste.
Sure. Well, I think first, I would say that it's important that you really find what interests you, because I think that the spectrum of science can be very long, can be very big. So it's important to focus and choose the specific field that really and genuinely excites you. I think that's very important. I will also say that it's important to connect with your mentors, with your professors, people who inspire you, in order to get their support and also their insights about all the experience that they already have. Another thing that I think it's a very important aspect, I would say, to look for any kind of opportunity. You know, I mean, like, look for scholarships, research opportunities, maybe some help that the institutions can give to you, so that you will have like the opportunities. You just need to look for them. And also I would say that you need to learn how to present your ideas, to learn how to communicate, and lastly but not least, to be confident in yourself and be sure that you can achieve anything that you dream of.
Excellent points. Very, very, very well said. So Tamari, considering that you didn't want this to begin with as a child, maybe you can give us your insight as to how
Yeah,
you
of
would
course.
inspire other women.
Of course. I agree with everything said so far. And for me, the main thing was who you want to be, and just keep going towards that goal, because a lot of obstacles will come on the way. But if you really want it, it will work out. Just believe in yourself. Don't listen to if others are discouraging you or not believing in you. Just keep going. It will work out. And the main thing is you have to believe yourself and just work for it. Sometimes we'll have to do twice more work depending on where you grew up, depending on your background, depending on where you go, and depending on people who surround you. You might have to do twice more work than others do, but it will work out. If it worked out for me, it will work out for you guys as well, whoever's listening to this. Yes, that's the main thing. If you want it, you will make it work. It will work for you. Just don't give up. Just
Always keep going. Keep pushing
Yes,
forward.
that's the main thing. Because yes, as I said, like professional growth, learning how to present yourself, taking the opportunities that will come on the way, and you will do it. But main thing is you believe in yourself and just keep going towards the goal. We live once, so don't give up. Live your dreams, not others' dreams. Yeah.
So true. So true. Melba.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo a little bit of what's been said. First, you really need to foster your self-love and your self-worth, because science and STEM is messy and it's chaotic. And if your self-worth is really entangled with your career, that might take a hit. But that's the nature of science. It's messy. So embrace your self-worth and your self-love. Second, embrace rejection and failure. Don't necessarily seek it out, but don't let that stop you. The more comfortable you are with failing, the more comfortable you'll be with trying again, and that gets you closer to your goals. And third, embrace your authenticity. Being authentic will take you to the right people. If you're pretending you're someone else, you will end up with the people who are not right fit for you. And just like the very last one, if it's within your means and you're interested in learn to code, it is helpful in all fields, and that's just like a skill set that will help you in biology, in genetics, in physics, in obviously computer science and engineering.
Melba, thank you so much for saying that, because I'm always saying that. Learn to code, learn to code. It's another language, that you really need to add. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Very good points. So who am I missing? I think Diana. We'll go Diana and then Fernanda.
Yes, exactly. I think the most important points have been said already about trusting yourself and believing in yourself, and of course, following your passion. And I think that includes like challenging and overcoming these gender stereotypes that are established in our society. Like there are some male careers or majors, and there are some women careers. So challenge that, and if it's your passion, follow it, and yeah, you'll have to overcome different obstacles in the way, but it's totally worth it. And also, I think it's really important in order to do that, to to build a network and build a team of people who you can relate to and who can be supportive with each other. So if you do it alone, you'll get there, but if you do it with your team and with supportive people who are going through the same as you are, you're gonna get further, and you are all gonna get further. So I think one of the most important things is that creating a team and creating getting closer to people who can help you and give each other insight and, I don't know, advice and things like that. And I think that includes also seeking for the right mentors, people who you can admire and who respect you likewise and are going to be there for you as well. So yeah, I think those are the most important things. And yeah, and of course, just follow your passion and don't let anyone tell you you cannot do it.
Very good points. And I think something we sometimes don't talk about enough is to foster a network of people who you can help and who will help you. It's definitely very useful. And Fernanda.
Yes. Well, my advice is go for it. I think, at least in Mexico, science, STEM is a lot of men feel, and sometimes you can feel, I don't know, afraid of it. Because, for example, in my case, you just go into a room with 50 other men and you're the only woman. And it can be, I don't know, it can be intimidating. But the thing is, you're being part of that change. Everything is changing nowadays. And seeing other girls in this career or in other majors, it's just inspiring. So I don't know if I lost you. Are you still there? So I think my internet is failing.
Okay, no, we're still here. Thank you. Thank you for those words.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes,
that's good.
yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and
I just
definitely, yeah. No, please go
it
on.
froze, right? Oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, I would tell everyone, every girl, to go for it and to embrace that you're being part of that change. So don't be afraid of being. And also, this is a little advice, but be that girl who helps other girls to do it. Because I think many men want us to fight for the places or just to be competitive to other girls to become something. But the truth is, you can be that girl who helps out other girls to feel comfortable, to don't feel like they're, I don't know, they're lost in there. So you can be that girl who helps out other girls. And it's also a good thing because you're making change bigger. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And learn to go too.
Fantastic. No, definitely. We have to help each other for sure, for sure. So now I'm going to switch a little bit, and I'd like to know kind of what challenges you have faced personally as women in STEM. Fernanda, you kind of mentioned this indirectly as going into a room filled with men. But apart from that, or including that, what other challenges have you faced? And I already start with Melba at some point, but we'll start with you.
Yeah, well, a part of being in a room with full men, I feel I faced many women who told me that it was impossible for me to go into this major. And that was like a bum. Porque I don't know, you feel like they should be the ones to push you to this. They will be proud of you. And most of them were not. They were afraid. But the thing is, they were just keeping you from doing it. And I don't know, I feel like that was a big thing because, for example, in my family, not my mom, but other women, they were like, you're going to the United States to study? That's like a man thing. And I'm like, no, this isn't a big opportunity. So yeah, I feel like we have to change that mind. We have to be the girls, the supportive girls. And also the languages. I love English, but it is something to, I don't know, to be afraid of, the learn other languages. I was really afraid of it, but I think like I'm doing well. So and also that I don't know, I feel like you don't have to stop to study things. So at one point I was afraid of just not getting updated with everyone else and that I was getting behind and that I had done nothing with my life. But just looking back, I've done plenty of things and I'm planning to do a lot of things too. So keep your pace. It's okay. And that's it.
good to hear you say, Fernanda. I feel that I've done something that's good. It's very positive, wonderful. And I think this goes for everybody here, definitely. Diana?
Yeah, well, I think there's loads of obstacles we as women have to go through as pursuing a career in the STEM field. Me personally, I think one of the biggest obstacles I keep facing is a little bit the imposter syndrome, because sometimes I do question myself because of others' comments. Like, for instance, if you receive a scholarship or you get an invitation or you get good grades or whatever, like even your colleagues and your friends tend to question, why are you getting that? You know, like, is it because you're a woman, or is it because you're pretty, or is it because you're a kind person and so people like you? And it is outrageous to think that you're getting what you're getting because you worked for it, you know. And I think that's a constant in a woman's path through our career. And it's even harder when those comments start to get inside of your head, and then you start questioning yourself, like, do I deserve this? Am I getting this because I'm a woman? Am I getting this because I really deserve it? And I think that's one of the biggest challenges I've faced. And I don't know, it's still hard to overcome that. I think one of the best things to do is first accept yourself and nurture your self-love, and also acknowledge that it is okay to stand up for yourself. And you know, like, yes, just being able to say, I do deserve this, I work hard for this, and I deserve this. So yeah, I think it is not always that easy, and you can also just let it slide and don't let it get to you. But yeah, acknowledging that you can stand up for yourself, and that sometimes you need to stand up for yourself, whereas probably men don't have to. It's one of the biggest challenges. And also another one I think would be like how to pursue my career, you know, because sometimes, you know, as women we are told we must be mothers, or we have to be the perfect wife and just stay at home, and then you want to do something else. So you're just like, how do I balance my life and my work, and what am I supposed to do, you know? And yeah, I think that's a pretty big challenge we as women encounter pursuing sciences careers. And I don't know, I'm still an undergrad, but I think one of the best ways to do it is like the advice I gave before: just follow your dreams and follow your passion, and don't let anyone else tell you what you have to do.
Yeah, Diana, thank you very much. As you just mentioned, we're trailblazers. You are trailblazers, so that's fantastic. And another point is we have to start normalizing success, don't we? You know, really just say, we've got success, that's it, and keep moving on and forward, no? So Melba, what do you have to say on this subject?
I think my experience is a bit rare in which in STEM, I've always been surrounded by very supportive people. My first job in STEM, my supervisor was a woman. My direct supervisor, my first one was a gay man who was like very feminist, and just everyone in the team was very supportive of diversity. Right now in my PhD position, my supervisor, Nicola Hill, is just also just amazing and incredible and really cares about diversity. But what Diana mentioned about imposter syndrome, I think it is more prevalent in women, and I see it a lot with my colleagues who are applying for scholarships or positions, and they're like, well, I don't fit like the exact criteria, and so I'm not gonna apply. I'm like, probably 10 men with less qualifications that you already applied. And that's kind of like the standard in general, but women are told that we really need to try harder and do more and be like exactly what they're calling for, or else we're not worthy enough or not good enough for that position. And that's just not true. We are very capable, and we tend to, since we are discriminated against, we tend to be more sensible to like the little details and the little things, and we have a because of that, we've been trained in a way to be able to make spaces better for other people. And I think having women in your team just really increases the happiness of everyone. Not that that's our job, but we just tend to be, we know what it feels like. So we tend to not want other people to experience that too.
Melba, this point that you mentioned is extremely important. There are studies that have been made that women don't go for certain positions because they feel that they don't have, the characteristics or the everything that's needed for that position, whether it be a written or whether it be what we perceive that is needed for that position. So I love that, you all have mentioned, just go for it, just do it, keep moving forward. And I think that's a big message. So we don't fall into that as well. Okay, so I think Tamari, have you spoken on the subject yet?
I have not, but I agree with what everyone said. And just a little bit of, I guess, life experience for me was that in one of my med school, when I was in med school back in Georgia, some professors would appreciate the work that men did, which was not close enough to what women did in terms of studying. And then they would get points, twice more points than us women, just for showing up. And they're like, oh, thank you so much, you came to my class. Meanwhile, we were very high, we had good performance with the lecture or whatever. And that was very discouraging. And those are the moments sometimes even speaking up won't help. It depends on the person and how they perceive. In our case, worse cases, oh, do you think you know more? And so it's like sometimes you just gotta be there and just keep going. That's why you just gotta keep going, because that studying paid off for us, for women, and now we are better at performing in our tests or whatever it has on our career path. So sometimes you just gotta keep going. Even if you speak up, sometimes it won't make a change, but that doesn't mean you should not keep doing what you want to do. So that's the moment you just gotta keep believing in yourself, in your dream, and just keep moving towards that, because it will work out. Yeah.
Thank you, Tamari. Celeste, did you mention something in the subject?
No, I haven't.
Not yet.
Well, yeah, I think that, following with the idea that you already have mentioned, I think my friends, my girlfriends, we tend to not to celebrate our own accomplishments. We are just rushing, trying to prove that we are good enough. So I think that's a very point that we need to consider, and just to celebrate the things that you have already done. And speaking about the challenges that I have encountered as a woman in science, for example, I remember when I was taking my classes, I heard so many times some of my professors, not all of them, but some of them, just make these sexist jokes in class in front of all of the people that were there. And so at some point you just get used to that some people just tend to like tell these jokes and they think that they are funny, but they are not. So also I think that the fact that being just one of the only women that are in groups of many men has caused that some of them to feel some harassment from there, and also to receive some ironic comments about it, like, oh, are you studying physics? Are you sure that you are smart enough? Or maybe you should get involved in other things. So I think that the way to overcome it, just focus on what are you doing, keep growing in this field, and at some point just realize that it's not worth it to listen to these comments, because it's very hard just to hearing all of these comments every time. So you need to focus on what you are doing and focus on the people that it's supporting you, so that you will feel more comfortable in what you are doing.
Thank you very much, Celeste. You're so right. And it's something that we have to work on for sure as a society. And one thing that's definitely for sure is that everything that we have faced only makes us stronger and better. So that's good. We have to canalize it in the best way. So here's the next question. What are your goals in the STEM field? And how do you plan to make a positive impact in the community and also for inspiring young women? So we'll start with Yana.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think the main goal for me would be to become a researcher and just be as passionate about it as it gets, so I can enjoy myself while doing what I love the most, which is, well, it's beetles and insects. So yeah, that's like the main goal. And while I do it, being able to become first, I would love to become a mentor for other women, and also advocate for them and for us, and keep creating these spaces where we can all feel safe. And just, I think the world is changing now, especially in the STEM fields, but I think there is a long way still to go. And I would love to be part of it by, I don't know if inspiring, but yes, like being someone that young girls can look up to and say, if there are other women up there, I can do that. And I think that's like the main goal for me in the STEM field.
Very well said, Yana. Celeste?
Yeah, well, I think my first goal right now is to be able to have a team under my supervision, focus on the development of AI projects, like direct the implementation of these projects. That would be like a really good thing for me. Also, I want to have a postgraduate degree. I already finished my physics degree, and right now I'm doing like an academic stay at MIT, but I want to have a postgraduate degree after that. So that's the second goal. And I mean, in order to make a positive impact, I will collaborate with educational institutions. For example, my faculty at UNAM. I think that since I have had the opportunity to be part of one of the most important institutions around the world, like MIT, I have gained experience in this field of all the activities, groups, and programs, mentorship programs, for example, that are implemented here. So I could take all of these ideas and take them to my home institution. Also promote workshops, activities. And I think one other thing that really interests me is the dissemination of science. I would love to work on that, and also work on the dissemination of the achievements that women have accomplished in the science field, because I think that it's very common that, I mean, I have heard a lot of stories that, for example, women scientists that have been overshadowed by her male colleagues. So I think it's very important to focus on that and to tell everyone about all the successful stories of women in science.
Thank you, Celeste. Tamari?
Yeah, so for me, I'm graduating. I know I'm senior. I shouldn't have a better idea of what I'm doing, but I think that's the thing of being a first generation, because I'm like, I'm all over. I'm like, I don't know. Even my resume was a mess. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm really doing. But main thing that I think in the future I envision myself doing is I want to teach general chemistry at some point, because that's the first course, like gatekeeper course for a lot of science majors. And when a lot of students don't perform well, they think it's end of their career and they won't be good doctors. And I have friends who have been told that, hey, you won't make a good doctor just because you didn't do well in this course. And some students are first generation. They didn't take AP chemistry, AP calculus in their high school. Some didn't even go to high schools that promotes good science education. So some people just have a lot of things going on outside of school. So those things are not taken into consideration, and those people just give up on their path. So I'm hoping to be part of their journey in terms of telling them that you can do it, and just kind of accommodating the ways of teaching that promotes equity and equality for women and men, and for everyone who wants to be in STEM, especially women. So that I hope as a woman I'll be somewhat inspiring for them to keep going. Yeah.
Beautifully said, Tamari. Beautifully said. Fernanda?
Yeah, thank you. Well, in my case, I have sisters, so I'm looking to be the person you go to whenever you have a problem, and that applies to my job. I mean, I want to as well have a teamwork for me, and in this case, I want them to be women, you know, like to have this environment, this peaceful environment where you can grow and you can teach other women too, but especially that you can work with. And for example, in my case, and I know it's different from everyone else's, but I have a few friends from my career that are women, and I think that they're the most intelligent persons in the career I've ever met. So I want to work with them. I want to see how big we can go with those ideas all mixed together. And also I have a lot of personal goals, like just like having my own house or having this opportunity of work with, for example, in my career to work from home, but like to use it to travel a lot, to change environments. And I like to meet new people too. So I look forward to it, to work from home, from home, but just to use it to travel, to know other places, to take my family with me. I wanna do that. That's a main goal for me.
Excellent. So we're finishing the hour, and I'm going to ask you just one final thing. And basically, that is, what do you think could be done for, or what actions or initiatives can be done for more equitable opportunities in the STEM field? Just to finish this off. And I'll start with Melba.
Yeah, this may be a bit of like on a darker note, but I do think academia and STEM needs to get better at actually prosecuting and removing harassers from their universities. There's a lot of protecting that happens, especially if the person who's doing the harassment is someone who publishes a lot of papers or brings in a lot of money for the university. So I think structurally that needs to change, because you hear so many stories of so many women who won't even try anymore to report because they're like, well, he publishes 10 papers a year, so they're not going to do anything, and this is not going to go public. So we really, really need to put a lot of effort there. I think activities like what we're doing, on a different note, like right now, being visible, all of us being visible is going to be helpful with our own identities. I try, being in the US, I always try to highlight that I'm an international student, that I'm Mexican, that I'm a woman, obviously, and also that I'm a Sapphic woman, so also part of the LGBTQ community. And all of those identities, I think, help people or minority people be like, okay, this is a space that I can exist in. And the more diverse the spaces are, the better they're going to be for everyone. Because if you bring more people with disabilities, for example, you change the infrastructure, and that's better for pregnant people, and that's better for just like the general public. We all bloom together. And when things get better for women, things get better for so many other people. And we really need to focus, I think, a lot of things has to be money, funding women's projects, women-led research, and a lot of funding and structural changes, people empowered to make sure people are safe in their institutions.
So true, and something that we all have to be a part of that change, right? Keep screaming it to everybody. We have to make this change, and also to keep screaming who we are. Be very, very true to ourselves and who we are, and not try to pretend to be someone else, because that's a common denominator. No, that's not the route. Perfect. Thank you very much, Melba. Very well said. So we'll go with Celeste.
Yeah, well, I think another important aspect that we need to take care is to protect young girls. I think that, for example, it's very important to look after girls at a very early age, to take care of the fact that some teachers or maybe some adults that are around them could like influence their decisions and pursue them to do something that is socially accepted or better for women. So I think to really need to take care of that, to encourage them to follow her dreams and not to listen to all of these comments. Also, I would say that we need to, like Melba said, encourage these initiatives that support opportunities, research opportunities, scholarships to women in STEM. Also to provide a safe space, and also you know, like conferences or just networking in between women in STEM, so that we know that we have representation in this field, that we will be in a safe place, that we will have the tools around us to highlight in this field. So I think that those ones are very important to consider.
Thank you very much, Celeste. Diana?
Yeah, well, adding up on what have been said, that I think it's really important. I think we also need to address this unconscious gender bias that we have. And also, well, at least in Mexico, there's something wrong going on, because, for instance, in my major, most of us are women, you know, like 75% of us are women. And yet in the national researcher system, 8 out of 10 researchers are men. So there is something going on, that we're losing women after our majors. They're just dropping off because of something, not just because they don't want to keep going on, you know. So I think there is an area that it's really important to tackle that problem there, you know, to address the problem and yeah, create solutions. I don't know, I can think of maybe creating and enforcing like policies, inclusive policies that can create more of an working environment, more accessible for everyone, you know, like starting with equally payments for men and women, but also, you know, like giving this access to remote work from home, so you can like, you know, I don't know how to say this, like, for instance, women who want to become mothers, so they can have both opportunities, you know, and also maybe more flexible work environments in every aspect, parental leave. And yeah, I think that also it is really important to have women representation at work, women that you can relate to, so you know you can be like them, you know, because I don't know, there are some little details, like for instance, in my school we have statues of Charles Darwin, we have statues of Einstein, and we have statues of all these big male personalities, and we have not one of a woman, you know, and that is not because they do not exist, but it is because they are not spoken of. And so for us as women, it's really hard to see ourselves up there when everyone of the power positions and everyone of the heads of department and everyone in the laboratories are all men, you know. So I think there's something going on there that we need to address, so we can relate to those women and then pursue our career in science.
Thank you very much, Diana. What you say is definitely true. And I think also through the whole range of ages as women. So when you're younger and you're having a family, well, that obviously, sometimes it's difficult to have your family and your job. So that flexibility is very important. And I think also as older women, myself included in this group, is when you have older parents or older family members that you also have to take care of. So handling the work plus that, sometimes the structure of our work environments. And as you well know, in Mexico, sometimes that family dynamic always falls on the women to take care of your older parents and etc. So I think that's those points that you mentioned are very, very good points. So
I'm sorry, I just want to complete my thought. I forget, and just adding up to that. Yeah, I think that regarding to gender bias, that's also a thing, you know. Yes, we are supposed to be mothers, but men can also be parents, and men can also take care of kids, and men can also take care of their parents, you know. So just like breaking these patterns, it's also really important, and acknowledging that it's not just our job.
Very true. Very true. So Melba, Celeste, Diana, we've heard from you. Fernanda?
Yeah, well, I think taking what everyone else has said, you have to focus also on kids, but not only girls, but boys. We have the opportunity to make them change their minds, to teach them that girls are as equal, as intelligent or fast or good in sports or good on everything. It's not on sex, it's on, well, on gender, right? I don't know. It's mostly on what you are, like who are you raised with, what are your goals in life. It's not about gender, so we can take that opportunity to teach younger boys and also to respect boundaries. I think in Mexico that's an important thing, because for me, for example, in the work field, you can get harassed too, not only in school. Only it's the main problem on schools, because we have to share class with many men and professors and things. But for me, it has happened on work, so we have to change that mind of people. Like, we are valuable, and we don't have to stand things just because we're women, and we have to deal with it. No, it has to change. If things were happening to men, if these things were happening to men, it would have been different. So we don't have to normalize that these things happen to us. We have to change it. And also, I think that we don't have to let them get into our mind that girls are other girls' enemies. So we don't have to compete to have the competition with other girls. We have to start encouraging girls to support other girls. And I say that a lot because in my career it has happened. Like, they made us fight for a job position, or for, you know, for big things. They made fight girls. So I don't think that's the solution. We have to focus on teaching girls other girls are not their enemies, they're allies, and we can work together. And that's it.
Very true, Fernanda. Helping each other, push each other up, no? And move forward. Tamari?
Yeah, so I agree with Fernanda a lot, because I think us women speaking up for each other, for each other, echoing each other's success and making it be louder. Because if I'm just for myself, it might not be, or I might have that self-consciousness that, oh, I'm not good enough. But if my friend is echoing it in a lab or lab setting, and men just keep hearing it, and we speak up for each other and support each other, I think that will change a lot. So women supporting each other and not competing. Healthy competition is good, but competing to let other women down wouldn't work. And in life, it won't take anyone. You might get that spot once, but it won't work for you in the future. So changing that mindset, that if you support others, it will support you as well. You'll go farther in life. So I think supporting each other matters a lot. And yeah, that's the main thing. Speak up for other women when you can. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, let me tell you, it has been inspiring to hear each and every one of your answers, to see you so young and yet so mature, and have a very good focus of what it is to be a woman in STEM. I have to say, and along with Hector, that we're very thankful for the time that you gave us today to really give us your thoughtful answers. You're going to be very inspiring for future generations. This video will be heard by many young women, both in the US and in Mexico. And I think it will reach out to many young women who are maybe wondering what it is that they should study, if they should study this. You know, I think you're an inspiration to all of them. And Hector, thank you very much for the invitation to be here, to be, you know, meeting these wonderful, wonderful women. And I hope that this is just, you know, a small seed for future talks. I think each one of the questions that we have, there's so much more to say, and maybe we can think about that in the future, sort of an ongoing series or something of the sort, because I think there's a lot to say and a lot to learn from each other and to share with each other. And I want to just finish this with one thing. We have made history here at the School of Medicine at UNAM, because I think it was just last week or 2 weeks ago that we have our first woman director of the School of Medicine. So, you know, we're very happy for that. It's a wonderful, you know, it's wonderful to have a role model in those positions that we've never had. The university is over 400 years, and up until now, we have our first director. So, you know, slowly we're starting to see, Diana, you mentioned having women in high positions, and we're seeing it today. So we're very grateful, and you know, it's actually a very good plus, because we had, of the 3 candidates, 2 of them were women this time. So, you know, each time we keep pushing forward. So, you know, we're very grateful for Dr. Ana Carolina Sepulveda as our first director. And hopefully we'll be hearing these wonderful stories, much more wonderful stories, and see each one of you in directorships in the future. So thank you very much, and I applaud you. And we keep moving forward. And thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Gracias.